Ali will. Oh, I see Soha on Facebook joining us live. I see a lot of people on Facebook. I see people liking. Hi, everybody. So we are live on Facebook, and we should also be live on YouTube. People, let us know how the audio is. If you could hear us, everything is okay. I see Beej on YouTube. I see Shubham on YouTube. I see Mr. Carey. I always have a problem reading that one. Beej, everybody. Okay, all right. Sorry about the background noise a little bit here. I'm constantly traveling these days. I'm gonna try to make sure there's no background noise for later episodes. Ali is gonna be joining us soon. She's a little bit behind. Oh, Robert on Facebook is saying audio is good. JV and Beej are saying audio is good. Khalid is saying audio is good. But because Ali is going to be, so we're going to be covering the news and atheism, religion, everything in between. We have a lot of interesting news today. But before we do that, because Ali is going to be joining us a little bit late, 10 minutes. Soha just jumped from Facebook to YouTube. Hi, Soha. So because Ellie is going to be a little bit late, I was thinking of starting with a little bit of a Q&A, a little bit of a chit-chat before we go into the news. Is that good? How do you guys like that? If you guys want to criticize us, if you guys have any comments, if you guys want to talk about any news that we're not going to be covering today, I'll just show you all the news that we're going to be covering today. The first one is going to be a teacher who won't use trans students' pronouns, sues VA district for firing him. So this is probably a free speech and transphobia issue mixed with religion. Actually, let me open all these Facebook posts to see if they're all going to be loading. I hope today we're not going to have a problem with loading videos. Okay, it's blank. Apparently we're going to have a loading problem today. It's fine. But this is the first one. Let me see the second one. The second one is going to be Gandhi's ashes stolen and photo defaced on 150th birthday. I think 150th birthday of Gandhi or his... Yeah, right?
Gandhi.
Gandhi's birthday, okay.
Yep.
The third one is going to be former anti-Vaxxer whose daughter got measles, begs others to vaccinate. Let me see. This is the fourth one. Is going to be mom makes autistic sons drink bleach as cure because they deserve relief. Then this fifth one. This is going to be a really controversial one, and because of this news, I think we're not going to get. This video is going to be destroyed by both Facebook and YouTube, unfortunately, because there's a lot of keywords in here that YouTube and Facebook is going to think we're being anti-Semitic. This is the most sensitive, one of the most sensitive topics for YouTube and Facebook. It says Melbourne Jewish students become victims of anti-Semitic bullying, and the caption says disturbing moment. A Jewish pupil, 12-year-old at an Australian school, is forced to kiss the shoe of a Muslim boy amid claims of rampant anti-Semitic bullying. Wow, okay. And what is this? I forgot. I lost count which one we are in. But the next one is Bishop. Bishop says girls should skip college so they're not smarter than their husband. This is a very Taliban thing to say. I think this is number 7, I think. Mormon couple claim they're not homophobic despite believing gay sex is a sin. I don't know why this is news. Are these Mormon couple famous or something? Okay, I think this is number 8. Televangelist Jim Baker says Jesus will return within the next 10 years. 10 years, very optimistic. This number 9, pastor says nothing angers Christians more than an impeachment inquiry into Trump. And then the last one, it says Muslim convert murders 4 in Paris. Paris police headquarters. Wow. Okay. right next to the headquarters. I wonder why this didn't get more news attention. I think these attacks are becoming now like common, and like yeah, another attack. People don't care. Um, by the way, what do you guys think about the diversity of the news we're covering? Like there's Islam, Christianity, Hinduism, most of the Judaism, most of the news is covered there. Some of the news that we share and we comment about, and some people might say like, "Oh, why is this news? This is not that important." Some of them are more interesting than important, but some of them are, and I think like the way that it works is that if you only cover important news that is not that interesting, then people won't pay attention, right? But the interesting news that is not important is kind of like a way to get people in, and then it's like promotion of the news, right? So people are like, oh, that's interesting, let me check that out. And then bam, you hit them with the news that is important, that is not that interesting, but it's important, right? So that's how it works. But anyways, what do you guys think about, oh, Ali should be here in about 4 minutes or something. But what do you guys think about the news that we're covering? Do you think that we need to cover more more important news, less stuff that is not important, or should we cover it like half and half? Do you think that is what we're also trying to do with the news is not to keep it Western focused, right? We try to cover news from global that is important globally. By the way, Shobham is our Hindu expert,
So
ex-Hindu
yeah,
expert, right?
yeah.
Ex-Hindu expert, whatever. By the way, Shobham, do you think Hindu atheist makes any sense? Or do you call yourself ex-Hindu or Hindu atheist?
I call myself ex-Hindu. I hate Hindu atheists,
Hindu
and
atheist,
to me they almost make no sense at all.
no sense.
And they're mostly hypocrites. Huge hypocrites.
Yeah, this is a topic with among ex-Jewish atheists as well. Half of them say we're Jewish atheists. Half of them say no, we're ex-Jewish atheists. Because they can't seem to.
I think it's related to the ethnic
Ethnicity.
because they're both ethnic religions,
Right,
right?
right. Beach is saying we need to find uplifting good news concerning atheists. Yeah, every time, honestly, every time we find them, we share them. If we don't, if we're not paying attention to uplifting good news, please share it with us so that we could
Yeah,
cover.
this, I mean, I shared one news about uplifting news about atheists, but
What?
like it depends on the people who like the page. I mean, their reacts actually show which news we are going to cover. So that news didn't get as many reacts, so we didn't
Oh
cover it.
yes, yes. So Anna, who picks our news, the also judges based like the 10 we pick. Like if you look at here, like the first news got 788 reactions. Anna judges which news to share with you guys based on the number of reactions the Atheist Republic community has. With it, so that's a good point. GV is saying because it's a republic, it's the Atheist Republic, so it has to be based on what the community wants us to share as well. JV saying Hindu atheists want to support the Hindu nationalist government without having the burden of defending superstitions and the caste system. That's a very good summary, JV. Do you agree with that, Shapam? So,
Yeah, I kind of agree actually. I mean, every time, I mean, if you bring up anything, they will always support the Hindu nationalist government that is currently ruling, and they will say that they are not superstitious and all, but they will still defend the caste system. Actually, Hindu atheists, I've often seen Hindu atheists defending the
they
caste
do?
system. Yeah,
Wow.
I've often seen them. Some of them say like caste system is not a problem. Okay, caste system is bad, but it is not a problem anymore. But it is clearly a problem in India,
Hmm.
and many of them actually say no, caste system is actually a socially good thing, which blah 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 blah.
Who says that? I've never heard that
Yeah,
before.
they
Really?
they do. Yeah, even Chris has heard of that.
Hmm.
They were defending the caste system in Atheist Republic. That guy was in Atheist Republic.
Khalid is saying Canadian stuff would be good, but there's not that much Canadian news. Remember, Canada is smaller than in population. Canada is smaller than California. So how much news do you think is going to come out of Canada? Bleach is saying, so it is by popularity. Yes, a little bit sometimes. Sometimes we do include news that it doesn't get that much interaction, but we think it's very important. Like, for example, when we post about China stuff, right? When China, oh, actually, no, that does get a lot of interaction. But there are some news that is very important and it doesn't get much interaction, but we think it's hard unless somebody comes and makes an argument for why we shouldn't share it. We do share it.
So
Um,
there's sometimes like I feel like people like Western people
hmm.
who are from the West, they don't really, I mean, they're not very interested by the things that are happening in if places like Asia and stuff. They're not really
Yeah,
interested in those, and that's why those news, even if they're important, they don't get as many reacts and are not covered.
yeah. Why do you think that is? I was giving a speech in where was this? This was in Toronto or Ottawa. This was in Ottawa, and I mentioned that not, for example, Muslims being attacked in New Zealand gets a lot of attention, but Muslims being attacked in India or China gets less attention, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think they're from the West, so they are more focused on stuff that happens in the West.
But New
Maybe
Zealand, New
they
Zealand,
don't.
New Zealand is not in the West.
I mean, it's
It's West.
not geographically in the
Yeah,
West, but it's still
right,
like it is still considered the West,
right.
kind of, because of
Yeah.
the culture.
So
Yeah,
there's actually somebody in the audience mentioned like, oh well, if it happens in countries that is our people, it's kind of like part of your family. That's why you care about it more. I was like, ask her like, what do you mean by our people? Um, what does our people mean? Does it mean white people? Um,
yeah,
or does okay? She meant like, no, not white people. I mean by based on culture, right? And I was like, well, culture. The person, like for example, in New Zealand that attacked Muslims, it was a white supremacist or whatever, right? So obviously, that's that's not our culture, right? And I feel like, for example, the atheists and secularists in India, right? I see that as our people, right? I don't. So I think we have to change the mentality of who's our people. It's not based
yeah.
on.
I agree. I
It's
absolutely agree about that.
right. I don't. It shouldn't be based on like, oh, these are Western countries and stuff. New Zealand is our people. It's closer to us because it's a Western country. Well, no. I mean, in New Zealand, you have people that are secularists or people that support Enlightenment values and atheists, and those are our people. But there are a lot of people in New Zealand, for example, that are not our people, right? And in India, there are a lot of people that are our people, right? So I think like because they're also secularists and atheists, and I think like we have to change. I don't know how, but I have to change this mentality that oh these countries matter more. And I think we're doing that at Atheist Republic by how we have all these fan signs from all around the world. People send us fan signs with Atheist
Yeah,
Republic, and we share
yeah.
them. I think like stuff like that. And another thing we do. By the way, there's a. I'm gonna get on this. I know I've been slacking on this, but I'm gonna get on this more soon. A lot of people. Another method that we have is that we have a Facebook group called Atheist Republic Video Report, and people put short videos, reports from all around the world there talking about what's happening around their area, and then we post that on YouTube, right? And I think that's another way I'm trying to create a sense of like, well, as long as you're support the values that we do, and you're an atheist and you're against religion, you're part. Oh, Ali is here.
Ali, hey.
Yay! Let me fix this.
Hi,
Ali, we missed you.
missed you guys.
Let me fix the video. Are you okay?
Yeah,
Everything?
I'm okay.
Alright. Just fell asleep?
Yeah, I've been
Uh,
working very, very odd shifts lately. So,
oh, that's okay. Sorry for the bad timing of doing the show.
no, no, not at all.
Let me just fix the window. Okay, I don't see half of your face. Let me fix that myself. I think I can fix that. No, that's you. Can you bring your camera a little lower?
Hmm. Just slow as it can go.
Okay.
Is that really me? I can see all of me in the preview.
All right. I'll fix it myself. Hold on 1 second. We're live, by the way. Don't say anything private.
Oh, whew.
You joined through the show. I was just talking about because I was trying to talk about some other random stuff before you came. I was talking about the type of news we cover and the methods, the way we think about what news we decide to cover. So I hope that wasn't boring for people. But let me fix the window. Oh my god, this is difficult. When there's all three of us, it's really difficult to get us all in.
So sorry I'm late, guys.
That's okay. This is what I do before the show starts. But today, I have to figure out how to do it during the show. So you see what I have to deal with every week. Okay, I don't know how to make this work. You guys there's too many of you. There's too many.
Let me just turn my camera off.
No, don't. No, please don't do that. Okay, just 1 second. I have to cut a little bit of me. A lot of me, actually. I'm gonna squeeze down like this. All right. All of us have a little. I usually have more time to figure this out, but today I'm just gonna leave it as it is. As is. All of us are very squished in. Your camera doesn't come any lower, Ali, right?
No, I have it up on a desktop, so it's like pulled down all the way. I can possibly pull it down.
All right, it's fine. Hold on. Maybe I should just bring Skype a little bit higher. Oh, there we go. Fixed. Okay, good. We did it. All right, let's go into the news. We already waited for long. I hope people stayed. I hope nobody. A lot of Facebook people abandoned us, but that's fine. YouTube people are still with us, but good. It's okay. All right, let's get started.
All right. First bit of news is out of the USA. In Virginia, a teacher who won't use trans students' pronouns sues the VA district for firing him. Peter Vleming, a former teacher at the West Point High School in Virginia, has filed a lawsuit against West Point School Board after they fired him for refusing to use proper pronoun for a student who was transgender. They had actually recently already gone through the transition. So he says that his religion prohibited him from treating the student as the gender that they wanted them to be, that they were presuming themselves to be. So, yeah, he's now suing the school district for it.
Well, I mean, I think people misunderstand what free speech means. Free speech means that you get to say whatever you want and the government doesn't come after you. And is this a public school, by the way?
The school in Virginia?
Yeah, I don't know. Even if it's not a public school, I mean, okay. So, for example, if you go to school and you start swearing at kids and being very mean, saying mean things to them, and they fire you, you can't be like, "Well, what happened to free speech?" Right? You can't say that. Right. I mean, you can say it, but that it doesn't mean anything. If you lose your job because of what you said, that's not a violation of your free speech. It is censorship, okay? Censorship, and not all forms of censorship. And you could argue whether it's a good policy or a bad policy. But even if it's a bad policy, which I'm not saying it is a bad policy here, but even in a situation when it is a bad policy, it's still not necessarily a violation of free speech. Here's a couple of scenarios where it is violation of free speech. If you say something and the government kills you or imprisons you or fines you or even warns you, if it's coming from the government, that's a violation of your free speech if you get any of that because of what you said. Unless you're working for the government and they require some degree of professionalism and blah, 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 and you lose your job because of it, yeah, that's not a violation of free speech. But if you say something and you're not working for the government comes after you for any reason, that's a violation of your free speech. Another scenario is that if you are being attacked or threatened physically because of your speech, and the government doesn't protect you on purpose, then that's also a violation of your free speech, right? But if you lose your job because of what you said, Not even if you use wrong pronouns or whatever. Even just because you were mean to somebody in school, you're insulting to the students, right? And the school like, yeah, sorry, bye bye. That's not a violation of your free speech. What I mean, which lawyer picked it? Like he's suing the school, right? I don't understand. Like, am I misunderstanding the law here? Like, you have to. The lawyer here is just should have told him like, yeah, you don't have a case here. Right? What do you think, guys?
No, I agree with you, Armin. Also, he's maybe the lawyer is like because he's using his religion, he's saying that it was not his bigotry, but his religion. I think he said something like that. Yeah, he said that it wasn't his bigotry. That's why the lawyer took up the case. He said that he always uses the students' pronouns in his class, and it's not that he's bigoted against the student, uh, but still they fired him, so that's why he's filing the case.
Well, here's the deal. There are some states where you do have religious freedom laws. So you have the right to discriminate against people for your religion. So if you were to say not bake a cake for a gay couple, or if you were to say not use the correct pronouns, then this would be a violation of your freedoms, which is a state law. So we're talking about a state law here.
Well, I don't understand, Ellie, because okay, he has a freedom to say these things. Like his freedom to say these things was not violated. The school also has the right to fire him.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I'm just saying that when people do whip out their religious freedom, and we want to know why they're whipping out their religious freedom, it's typically because there are some state laws, especially here in the South, that give people this freedom, if you will.
Yeah,
and that's that.
Yeah, but how is the school firing him violates his freedom?
Because that's freedom from consequence is what it is.
Really? The law is freedom from consequences?
Okay, as far as the government goes. So say there's a gay couple going to get a cake, right? And someone says, no, your gayness is against, it violates my freedom of religion. I don't have to bake a cake for you, right? They're not allowed to get in trouble by law. They had the right to express themselves that way.
Right, by law, like you said, like freedom from consequences from the government. So the law says that freedom of religion means that you can say whatever you want, bigoted or not otherwise, and your freedom from consequences from the government, not freedom from consequences from anyone else, right?
And so it would come down to, like you were asking earlier, is this a public school or is this a private school?
Right. So noblesse, is that how you say noblesse? It says, oh, my private company type of argument coming out. Well, what's your argument against that type of argument? Like, that's not your at least we are making an argument. You're not making an argument. So yeah, if it's a private company, why shouldn't they be able to fire somebody if they don't like the way they're treating their students? Whether if it's not the government, like why? Like give me a counterpoint. Why shouldn't they be able to fire somebody if they don't like the way that they're treating the students? So some people might say like, so see, again, when it comes to pronouns, I don't have an issue at all, and I think anybody and no decent person has an issue with using the pronouns that people want you to use. I don't think it should ever be the law or anybody should be forced to use any kind of pronouns. But I think if somebody is requesting for you to use certain pronouns, but not demanding it, see, as long as it's a request, I think it's fine. And I think any decent person would follow it. But my problem is when it moves from a request to a demand when it comes to using proper pronouns, right? When it turns into a demand, they're like, no, you don't get to demand that. You get to request that, and people should be able to follow it if they choose to. And I think most good people would follow it, right? But if it becomes a demand, then I think you're crossing a line. When it becomes a law, then it's like, holy shit, now you really crossed the line, right? And I think like when it comes to school, if it's a request and you're not following that request, whether it's religious or not, you're just being mean to your students for no, I mean, if you are if somebody is mistreating students for non-religious reasons, we let them go. So we should also let them go for if they're being mean to students for religious reasons. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. I'm not sure if I understand the whole argument about the demand thing, though. I mean, it's like, I don't understand why anyone would have a problem with calling you the pronouns that you just request that they call you. I've never had anyone demand with me that I use certain pronouns. It's always been a request. And to me, it's no different from, someone whose birth certificate name is Christian, putting Chris on their name tag and saying, hi, can you please call me Chris? No one's saying, let me see your birth certificate. I want to make sure your name's Chris. We typically go along with it and just say, fine.
Yeah.
You're Chris.
No, the demand.
Right?
Yeah, demand is when somebody says this is everybody should, like, you have to do this, right? To me it's like, no, I don't have to. I just want to because I'm not an asshole, right? Like, for example, it's just the same. It's just being polite, right? So nobody, like, if somebody says to me that you have to be polite to these people, I'm like, no, I don't really have to be polite. I just want to be polite, right? But you can't be like, no, I'm making a demand. This is, you have to do this. You have to follow these certain guidelines. Like, no, sorry, I don't have to. And be careful if you ever try to make this a law that I have to be polite, and then I might have to be impolite just to make sure your law backfires. But while it's not law and while it's not being forced, I choose to be polite. I choose to be decent to people. Does that make sense, Allie?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. Nobel Lees is saying forcing people to use certain language by law or by threat of firing. That's my problem. I have a problem with only with the first part at Nobel. So forcing people to use certain language by law, I agree with you. That's a problem. That's a problem. But if it comes by threat of firing, I don't have a problem with that because that's already the standard. If I have an office job and I go and my boss says, hi, Armin, and I say, fuck you, Bob, and they fire me the day after, I can't be like, why are they threatening me? Forcing people to a certain language by firing, I have a problem with that? No. I think people are like, yeah, I see why you got fired. I think people see that as that's acceptable to get fired over that. But if I say, fuck you, Bob, and the government comes after me, I'm like, yeah, that's not right. That's not cool. That's a red line that we shouldn't be crossing. But if I lose my job over that, I think that's not a red line. I think that's fine. That's my opinion. All right, let me see what the top comments are. Wow, this one got a lot of interaction. The top comments got like 360, 312, and 200 reactions. 361 reactions by Douglas. Hope the teacher wins. Adults should not be placating to the whims of children. Really? So I don't understand. So can the teacher come and starts yelling at the students and calling them names and making jokes about their parents? And if the children said like, oh, that's not cool, would Douglas also say that adults shouldn't not be placating to the whims of children? So why is it? Here's the thing. You know how we have a double standard with religion. When religious people, when there's a standard for everyone else and a different standard for religious bigotry and stuff like that, I think even among the atheist community, the ones that are against trans rights and stuff like that, I think they have double standards as well. Like, so people like Douglas are like, oh, I hope the teacher wins, but they wouldn't be saying that if the teacher was being mean to students in any other way other than calling them the pronouns, using the pronouns that they didn't like, right? So I think we have a double standard here as well. Salim saying, if students are required to refer to teachers as Mr. I think this is going to be good. If students are required to refer to teachers as Mr. and Mrs. and Miss as a sign of respect, then teachers should be held to the same standards for students' wishes. That's a very good point, right? Imagine, yeah, good job. Because like the students would be trouble. Even I've seen students get in trouble if they just call the teachers by their first name, right? If a teachers go to school and call the teacher, "Hi, John," and if it's actually the teacher's name is just John, the students could be like, "No, you can't call him John. You have to call him Mr. Smith or whatever," right? And the student would get in trouble, even though John is actually his name. So why is the student able to get in trouble and not the teacher if the teacher is not using the right pronoun, right? Last comment I'm going to read is Mac. Mac, I agree. You should be whatever makes you happy, but forcing others to play along is not right. If a child identified as a king of the world, would the school force the teacher to call the child king of the world? Probably not. Well, I think that's very different. Nobody is born with a genetic situation that they feel like they're the king of the world. That is not at all comparable. But again, this is if you're talking about forcing, the way that what these people are advocating is not. You're saying, oh, should the teacher be forced to say something? No, the teacher can say whatever he wants, and he could lose his job over it. He could still say those things. In fact, if you don't have these standards, then you're actually forcing the school. You're forcing the school to keep the teacher, even though the school doesn't like the teacher's behavior. So if you're like, oh, why are you forcing the teacher to blah, blah, blah? Well, no, why are you forcing the school to keep the teachers that they don't like? If you have an issue with forcing, you're also, why are you not looking at it the other way around? Anyways, I think we spent enough time on this one. Anything else you guys want to add?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Actually, I wanted to just show something on the camera for our comment section to David Nash,
Right.
because he's being like, oh, I hope Atheist Republic Army doesn't become trans activists and all, and he was like that in the comment section in the live chat, and that's why. There you go, a trans flag for you.
Yeah. Okay, so that was trans. No, I am a trans activist, even though I consider myself a trans activist, even though a lot of trans activists hate me. But they don't even. It doesn't matter. I will still be a trans activist, even if trans activists don't accept me, because they don't get to choose who's a trans activist. Right? Is that right? That's.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. All right. Next news.
Okay, next news is out of India. Gandhi's ashes stolen and photo defaced on 150th birthday. Back in 1948, where Mahatma Gandhi's ashes had been, or remains had been kept after he was assassinated by a Hindu extremist. His remains have stayed there ever since 1948, and somebody has actually, or a group of people have actually gone to his memorial, and they've taken remains, which were his ashes, and they painted traitor in green paint across photographs. Gandhi's actually considered a traitor by extremists for his activism in Hindu-Muslim unity.
So this is Hindu extremists. Extremists killed Gandhi, and they still hate him, right?
Yes.
Because he's like, hey, let's get along with Muslims, and people are like, no, none of that, please. And actually, a lot of Hindus today, still admire the person that killed Gandhi. A lot of Hindus have changed the profile of their image on the profile image on Facebook, on Twitter. I've seen it. They changed it to the person that killed Gandhi, and also the BJP party, the Hindu party in India, which is very popular, and Modi, who's the head of it now, who got re-elected recently, right? Who's very popular in India. He's also comes from the school. Correct me if I'm wrong, Shubham. The school of thought, or of the person that killed Gandhi, right? Shubham, is that correct?
It's not. I don't think it's exactly the school. I mean, they both have like the same. Not school. I'm not sure about the school, but his mentor, Modi's mentor, he was a huge fan of Godse and he like worships Godse and stuff. And Godse is the man who killed Gandhi.
Okay, so he's the person that killed Gandhi. And
Yeah.
what how would you, if you wanted to steal men? I know this is very difficult to defend this position, but what is the best way to describe these people's views? What did they have a problem? What did the killer have a problem with Gandhi, and why do people today still have a problem with Gandhi in India?
Okay, first of all, you know about the BJP already.
Yeah.
So there's
Ex-
an organization, RSS, which
Yeah.
is like the parent organization for BJP.
Mm-hmm.
And Godse, Nathuram Godse, the man who killed Gandhi, was a member of the RSS.
All right, so let's just break this down. We have RSS, which is a parent
Hindu Nationalist Party, Hindu Nationalist Organization.
Hindu nationalist organization.
Yeah, I compare it to the KKK.
Yeah, so it is very extremist. They have very, very extremist views. They are very much against Muslims. They want India to become fully Hindu, is like kind of like second-class citizens for Muslims and stuff like that. And remember, Modi, both the Prime Minister, right? Prime Minister or President? It's Prime Minister.
Prime
right?
Minister.
Prime Minister. Both Modi, which is the Prime Minister, both the Modi and the person that killed Gandhi comes from the same organization, which is RSS. And the BJP party, which is now the most popular party in India, which just got recently elected, which the Prime Minister Modi is from, is a sub organization of the RSS, right? So that's very scary, right? That means like India's now government is now deep-rooted in a very, very far-right Hindu nationalist ideology, which is responsible for Gandhi's killing, right? Are we like, a lot of people might think like, no, we're like, they're not affiliated. Do people say that they're not affiliated, or is this completely
people know they are affiliated? That's really common knowledge. But this stuff that happens, for example, this stuff, the Gandhi's ashes being stolen, they will say that no, they didn't do it. It was someone else. They will say this kind of stuff,
right?
That they didn't do it, but we all know they did.
Okay, but it can't be as simple as like, oh, we don't want unity, right? Like, well, how would they defend their position? Because I don't think like if you talk to if the people that stole the ashes or the people that support Gandhi's killing, if I talk to them, they wouldn't be like, oh yeah, we're against Gandhi because we don't like unity. Like, they would probably use a different way of defending their position. What would they say?
Well, their position is like, I mean, you already know how the hatred between India and Pakistan, everyone knows that. Okay, so Gandhi was like in support for the creation of Pakistan. And just because India lost that part of the land, Pakistan and Bangladesh was also formerly Pakistan. So India lost those two parts of land, and that's why people are angry at Gandhi. How could he allow that? How could he support that formation? I mean, I'm not a person.
The formation of Pakistan?
Yeah.
Okay, so what were you saying? Sorry, go ahead. You don't personally what?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not personally a Gandhi fan, but I'm not his fan because of different reasons, not because of Pakistan and stuff.
See, like the top comment is also saying that, right? So Andy's saying he is not the great liberator he is proposed to be, nor is he the Messiah. Yeah, but there's a difference between not being his fan and going as far as supporting his killing or stealing his ashes. Like that's
okay. Here's the thing. I mean, the RSS, they call Gandhi anti-national, and that's why a member, Nathuram Godse, was an RSS member, killed him and stuff. But here's the thing: during the freedom struggle of India, the RSS took the side of the British and went against Indians.
All right, but why are you not a fan of Gandhi?
Because
other than his wife beating stuff, like political
wife beating and other stuff as well. I mean, kind of pedophilia and stuff.
Okay, but no, politically, are you against his positions at all?
I'm not really against. I don't think he was the only reason India got independent. I mean, I'm more a fan of the radical parties because come on, like no one will leave your country just because you are getting hungry.
Okay,
You're
so
starving yourself. So I'm not. I think his
one last
actions were more like symbolic rather than direct.
But one last question:
So,
the people that don't like the Pakistan being separated from India, like they want India to be for Hindus, right?
yeah,
Wouldn't that be more difficult if all the Muslims from Pakistan
I
were?
know, I know, I
So no, wait,
know.
let me finish
So
my
here's
thought because people
okay.
don't know people that are listening don't know what I'm saying, right? If Pakistan and India never got separated, then this whole thing will become have a lot more Muslims in it, and it will become a lot more difficult to have a Hindu nation. So shouldn't these people be happy that all the most of the Muslims got their own country and left? Because it would be even more impossible to have a Hindu country if it wasn't going to. So it seems like these people that want a Hindu country should have been for the, like we should be happy that Pakistan got separated. No?
Yeah, here's the thing about that. From I've talked with many Indian people about this, and here's what I found: they don't care about the people. What they care about is just the land area,
Mm. The one would be
including
bigger.
this. You can see
This
this
is a
case.
dick measuring thing. Like bigger is better, right? Like is that
Yeah,
yeah okay.
yeah. You can see this case in Kashmir as well. Indians want Kashmir.
Mm.
Pakistan wants Kashmir,
Right.
but they don't really care about the people in Kashmir.
Right. It's right. Okay. Let's not open that because that's another 1 hour discussion
Yeah.
if we get to Kashmir. We already covered that, by the way. So don't tell us like, oh, why Armin you don't talk about Kashmir? We did talk about Kashmir. All right. Shall we go to? Hold on 1 second. Next news.
Yeah,
Yeah.
next news is out of England, UK. A former anti-vaxxer whose daughter got measles begs others to vaccinate. Normally, we hear stories about parents who change their mind on this, having done so after their child contracts like kid child contracts something dangerous. However, this lady, Debbie Roscoe, her daughter Ellie was 23 years old when she contracted a case of the measles that was life threatening to her. So now Debbie Roscoe is still reaching out to other parents who are anti vaxxers because it's been a trend for quite some time. And she's telling everybody that obviously this is an issue that needs to be left to science and not to our feelings about the matter, and we all need to be vaccinating our kids.
Okay. I think we should be forgiving and accepting of somebody that figure. This is the best way to redeem yourself. I think it's not just like, oh, I was wrong. I was like, oh, I was wrong. Let me help other people also figure out that they were wrong. Like she's actually trying to clean up after the, like she's actually putting more effort into undoing some of the damage that she made by going out and helping other people understand that why she was wrong. I think this is the
Yes.
best way. I think this is the unchristian way of forgiving somebody. Like so Christianity is like forgiveness without conditions, just forgive. But I think the best form of forgiveness is forgive when people are actually trying to do something to redeem themselves. Like there needs to be some effort made before you give forgiveness. I think this woman deserves all the forgiveness because she's not just saying I was wrong because of her activism now, going out and telling people that look, listen, this I was wrong and this is science, right? Do you guys agree? Like I think
She should be
Yeah.
forgiven anyways. I mean,
Yes.
just as a parent, I think that it's hard. It's hard, especially when we want to do what's right for our children. When I become very unforgiving is when we have a lot of she's an older. She's the mother that kind of came around when all of this started, right? This whole anti-vax movement. It was huge back then. It's still huge now. But it's I'm more forgiving for her because it was new then, and she thought, okay, these are things that are coming out now. We have a lot of stuff. That's out there, but I think that any parent who wants to turn around and say, hey, I was wrong, whether they're activists or not, if they want to turn around and say, hey, I was wrong, and quit at least giving credence to the false information, I think they should be forgiven. So absolutely, I think this woman has gone above and beyond. But being a parent is hard, and I get that we get things wrong sometimes. If any parent steps out and says, hey, you know what I did was wrong, I would forgive him.
yeah, but at least make a statement. That's not too much to ask. Like make a statement so that you can help other parents realize that this is wrong as well. I think that's not too much of a request. If for this, I mean, if you realize that you were wrong, you have to also realize that you are responsible for putting children at risk. So at least make a statement to just undo that a little bit.
I mean, her daughter being sick is her fault. I mean,
Yeah.
it's cold and
My
that's
God.
harsh, and I understand saying that is cold and harsh,
Yeah.
but the truth.
My God, that's so hard, isn't it? Like knowing that your kid is sick and that's your fault. Wow.
Yeah.
Beta is saying good for her to come out and make a statement. Danny disagrees. Danny is saying it's a shame that a child has to suffer things like this for her parent to realize their hatred for things like autism is greater than their care for their child. I'm autistic and vaccinated. I have a steady job and proper functioning life. So it's not like being autistic is a life ender. Yeah, but to be clear, Danny, I know you didn't say that, but you're not suggesting that vaccines cause autism. You're saying that even if they did cause autism, it is better to be with autism than not be vaccinated. And Danny continues, this is going to be going on the assumption that they're avoiding vaccination because it causes autism, which is obviously bullshit. Yeah, okay, he clarified that as well. So then he's saying it's sad that you have a child had to suffer for her to realize this. Yeah, but at least it's better than not realizing this at all, right? Okay. Anyone have any comments? No, right? All right.
Well, our next bit of news kind of keeps on the same topic, so if we want to jump into that, we
All
can
right,
continue.
let's go. Next news.
Yeah, next news is out of Kansas, USA. A mom makes autistic sons drink bleach as a cure because they deserve relief. So here we go again. This mother, who fully believes that her 2 autistic sons got autism from vaccines. Okay, so the same woman who reaches out to bad science, if we will. I don't even like calling it science, but this woman who reaches out to a bad science crowd gets something called a miracle mineral solution, which is basically bleach, that she's giving them. She's tried giving her autistic sons medications to help with their issues, and putting them on special diets with no success. But her ex-husband is saying that she's just trying to poison their children.
How is she not arrested though? Like, okay, so people know that she's giving. How is the kids not taken away? You're giving your children bleach. First of all, where did this bleach idea came from? That bleach cures things. Like, who came up with this stuff? Like, how is that even possible?
We've been seeing it kind of as a trend lately.
Like, but why? How does that happen? Like, bleach from all the things in the world. Like, bleach, really seriously? Like, I don't understand. Like, people think bleach because it cleans things, they must also cure stuff. Is that as simple as it gets? Like, is that the line of reasoning? I saw some Christian churches in Africa were actually promoting this and giving babies in Africa are being given bleach. Yeah. Like, I mean, I keep thinking this must be a very small thing. Like, we're not that stupid as a species. Like, come on, like, we can't be that stupid. But it seems like this is a big thing. I mean, where is this? This is in the U.S., right?
This is in the U.S., yeah.
But how is she not, like, if you give your children poison, doesn't the police show up and take your children away from you and put you in prison? Like, does that not happen?
Yeah, I mean, the article says that she's now coming under fire for it. I don't know what that means.
Coming under fire for it? Like, why is she not in handcuffs? Because
her ex is saying that she's poisoning his children. And she is. That's what she's doing. She is literally poisoning his children. So I'm hoping that, Child Protective Services are getting involved, that they're removed from this woman, because this is just.
I mean, if a parent was like cutting their kids every day with like a razor with knives or something, we wouldn't be hearing the news like, oh yeah, the ex-husband is saying, oh yeah, the mom is abusing the child. Oh, like the mother, like, yeah, I think this is good for her. That wouldn't happen. There would be cops involved. The child would be separated. So why is it with bleach, when you're giving poison to your children? Why is it like, oh yeah, like Ali is saying, I hope child services gets involved. Like, why are they not involved already? Like, I don't understand how this works. It seems like in the United States, which is supposed to be a first world country, which is the most advanced country in the world, which is supposed to be you think that as soon as there's a suspicion of this happening, the cops would be all over the place. The kids would be separated from the parents. Something like this would have happened. Like, I don't understand why. Somebody educate me why this is not happening. I don't understand why this is not happening. Okay. You don't know why this, like, Ali, when you say you're hoping that this is going to happen, do you know why this hasn't happened already? You have any
I
idea?
have no answers for you.
Okay. Fine.
I don't think that,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Ryan is actually pointing out the church that is one church that I mentioned. Ryan say, look up Genesis 2 Church of Health and Healing. That's where the bleach as a cure-all bullshit originated. Is that where it originated? Or okay, so we do know a lot of churches that promote drinking bleach, but I think as atheist activists, we might get tempted to assume that it got originated from the churches. Is Ryan right that it got originated from the churches, or did the churches just pick it up?
Well, there actually is a church in the United States, at least that I know of, that does base their entire religion around the article in the Bible, or the verse in the Bible that says that we should partake of poison and watch how God doesn't let it affect us, or if you're a true believer, you can intake poison. But here's the deal: was that had nothing to do with cleansing. So unless this is a different verse he's talking about, there are churches. I mean,
that's the name of a church. That's the name of a church. The Genesis is not referring to like a Bible verse or something. I think that's just the name of a church. I think. I'm not sure though. But yeah, so sorry, I interrupted you.
No, it's okay. I mean, but there are a lot of places, especially even in Kansas, where this lady is, where snake handlers and snake handler type churches, because they should be able to be infected with poison and have it not affect them, but it would actually cure them and cleanse them. But that's not necessarily bleach. That's just any poison.
Oh my god, I don't know what's happening in the background. Yeah, but my point is that even as atheist activists, we have to be careful not to think like this happened because of the churches. It might have, but because a lot of people on our side are a bit biased, they might jump on that. Oh, like, oh yeah, this all started because of the churches. It might have been that the churches heard about this and they picked it up. It might have originated somewhere else. We don't know.
Right, and I would agree with you on that. We need to not do that. Like, unless somebody said specifically, like, "Hey, I'm giving them bleach because God came down and told me to give them bleach." If it's not tied to religion, let's not stretch that far to tie this to religion.
Yeah, unless it's proven that it is. All right, let's go to the next news. Oh, this one is the.
Yeah, next news is out of Melbourne, Australia. A disturbing moment: a Jewish pupil, age 12. In an Australian school, is forced to kiss the shoe of a Muslim boy amid claims of rampant anti-Semitic bullying. Armin, do you have the photograph up right now?
Yes, it's up.
Okay. A Jewish school boy was forced to kiss the shoe of a Muslim boy or face vicious beating at the hands of 9 other children who circled him in a park. So they're saying that this boy, a gang of kids, this is insane to me, but a gang of kids circled these 2 boys, forced the Jewish boy to kiss the feet of the Muslim boy while they took a photograph, saying that he had no right to hate Muslims or something like that. And then they started like calling him a whole bunch of nasty things that I'm not going to repeat.
Yeah,
it was
check in the comment section and check in the description for all the stuff. If we say the stuff that is in this article, by the way, this is not fair because this is shared in mainstream media, and we can't get away with saying any of these things because like non-mainstream media, we will get removed from YouTube, Facebook, and everywhere if we actually say what's in the news. But mainstream media gets away with saying everything. So it's so unfair because it's just the news. We're not saying those things. But anyways, we're not going to say them. But look, would we get into trouble for including it in the description? I don't know.
I wouldn't even just in today's. I mean, this is pretty vicious stuff. I mean, guys, they even went as far as to mock his penis because it was circumcised to such an extent that he would wet himself instead of going to the bathroom. He literally fell to the floor and told his mom, "You shouldn't love me. I'm worthless." And then started repeating the things about himself that they were calling him because he's a Jew. And I mean, this is just horrifying bullying, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so we won't include it even in the description. There's a link to the article, so go check that out. But this is like I saw in the article they said that they haven't done anything to the kids that took these pictures and did the abuse. Why is that?
That's a good question.
They haven't.
I don't understand why they wouldn't do anything to them.
Right. But anyway, is this verified news? Because I'm seeing the source is Daily Mail, and a lot of people are gonna say like, "Wow, you shared the Daily Mail article. That's the worst." But this is true. This news is true, right? Like this is not something like
Right.
yeah, because a lot of people don't like this source. But hey, they're not always wrong. Um,
Right.
but again, this is the type of abuse that should be called out, not when you say anything bad about Israel or anything about Judaism. That's not anti-Semitic. This is anti-Semitic, right? This is what you need to call out as nonsense. And this is not anti-Semitic. You know, anti-Semitism is rising everywhere, and in Europe, in the United States. It was always huge in Islamic countries, but it's becoming even bigger. So, and this is a big problem. So, find where it is a real problem and point at it and call it out and try to take actions against it, instead of trying to find like people's legitimate concerns about even non-legitimate concerns about like Israel's policies. That's not anti-Semitic. If you talk about Judaism as a religion and attack that, that's not anti-Semitic. This is anti-Semitic. This is what you need to call out as anti-Semitic, and you need and I mean, this captures people's attention because there was a photograph, but there's a lot more stuff like this happening that is not being reported on, especially in Islamic countries. Especially in Islamic countries, there's a lot of anti-Semitic views that needs to be called out. So just do it properly. Let me see. Sharma saying, but Quran allows such acts. It's a religion of peace after all. God, I'm so tired of that joke. Yeah, we know Islam is not a religion of peace. It's a violent religion, but come up with new material. Javier's comment has got a lot of reaction, but it's so long, so I'm not going to read it. So is Kat's. All right, let's go to... Shopam, do you want to add anything?
No, I mean, I don't think I would like to add anything to it.
All right,
It's
hold
just
on.
depressing news.
Let me just see if I could stop the background noise by leaving somebody a comment, because there's banging noise coming. Just 1 second, sorry about this. I don't know what's happening. Stop. All right, hold on.
Ready for the next news?
Yeah, hold on. Let me just close this one. 1 second, sorry.
That's okay.
All right, next news.
Next news is out of Brazil. Bishop says that girls should skip college. They're not smarter than their husbands. Edir Macedo became a Brazilian millionaire when he invented a church in 1977, the Universal Church of the Kingdom of God. And he received so much tithing from that church that he actually became a billionaire in Brazil. He told his daughters, and mind you, this family has come from so many different scandals that include child trafficking, money laundering, theft. I mean, just terrible things. This billionaire. So he tells his daughters that they shouldn't go to college because they'll be smarter than their husbands, and men won't like that. He said in his speech.
Wait, so he's a billionaire himself, and he's like a huge bishop in Brazil, right? And he's openly saying, "I want my daughters to be stupid, so men like my daughter." Is that what he's saying? Wow. Yes. Does he hear himself? Like
I don't think he cares. I mean, and this is what happens when people become rich and powerful, right? It doesn't
No,
matter what they say.
wait, no. Actually, most people that become rich and powerful, they would say like, "I want the best for my kids. I want my kids to go to the best colleges, the best universities. I want them to be smart. I want them to dominate the entire planet. I want them to have everything." Most people that get rich, they don't say like, "Yeah, I want my daughters to be dumb and stupid so that men like my daughter." Most rich people don't say stuff like this. I mean,
Well, unless he's got a motive for it,
right,
right? So if he wants his daughters to be dumb and stupid, so men like them, maybe he wants all women to be dumb and stupid, so they'll be stupid enough to like him. I don't know. He's got a motive for saying it, right?
right.
One way or another, he's got a motive for saying it. It doesn't matter how crazy it is what he's saying. He feels he has every right to say it, and everyone should listen to him because he's rich and powerful.
Yeah, of course he has a right to say it. I mean, I don't disagree with that.
No, you know what I mean. I don't mean right,
Right,
and obviously he has a right to say anything he wants, but
right,
he's in the right to say it. How about that?
right. Um, yeah, okay, but is it like, where does this idea come from? I hear this all the time. Like, men don't like women that are smarter or more whatever than more this than them, more that than them. They have make more money than them. Is that even true, or is that
There was a study that was done a couple years ago that said men don't like smart women or women who are powerful. They prefer somebody with a lower IQ than them.
so? That study confirms that.
That one study did. I mean,
Mm.
technically, you can find a study to conclude anything you want, but it did seem to be a legit as far as scientific study goes.
Hmm.
Mm,
Interesting. This way the Taliban. This man has a lot in common with Taliban, other than the killing part, because the Taliban also doesn't want. I mean, it is true that if women are educated and smarter, they will probably fight for their rights more, right? And this is why Taliban completely understands why women shouldn't be educated if you want to make sure that you could treat them like, products that you buy and sell and you trade. You can't do that if they're educated, right? Because all of a sudden they're independent. Women need, if you want to control women, they need to require men to support them, right? That's if they're educated, then they don't require men to support them, and they become very difficult to manage, right? But yeah, but again, if one thing that I'm hoping that happens is that in the near future is that knowledge and education becomes democratized, so that anybody with an access to internet could just educate themselves, like so that you don't need colleges and universities and stuff like that unless it's like medical stuff or engineering related stuff. Like, I think in the future, like, if you just have access to internet, you could just be able to like just go teach yourself like video editing skills or copywriting skills, and you could just sell your services online and just make money that way, and then that way nobody could control your access to information. So I'm hoping that happens. I mean, we're already there. I just hope that becomes more popular at some point, and that would reduce the cost of education by so much. Connie saying, I say keep building intelligence and skip the husband. Well, why not both? You can have a husband and be intelligent. Shirley is a little bit, the comment is a bit long. All right, Shubham, did you have any comment on this?
Now this is just a dumb guy saying stuff. I've seen many people saying this stuff here in India. Like many people say girls shouldn't study much, they shouldn't study after high school, many things like that. So it's pretty common for me to hear this stuff.
Okay, and is this guy a big deal in Brazil? He seems to be like a big, powerful bishop, right? That's why this keeps
yeah.
getting good news. Okay. All right, let's go. Hold on. To the next news.
Next news is out of Greater Manchester in England. A Mormon couple claim they're not homophobic despite believing gay sex is a sin. So the 17-year-old kid is having a chat with his parents and decides to put them on blast for the things that they're saying about the LGBT community and gay people in particular. They are claiming that homosexuality is a choice. And mind you guys, a lot of the beliefs that Mormons hold specifically about gay people do actually tend to stem from the Mormon religion. They're outrageously homophobic.
Yeah.
So the teen was actually preparing for a 2-year missionary trip to Zambia, where he'll try to recruit new church members. And this is what happens in the Mormon church. Whenever you turn 17, you go on a 2-year journey. You bike around with another person from your church, and you spend your time going door to door trying to recruit people into Mormonism. So while he's preparing for that, he decided to have a talk with his parents about different people. And they said that they don't believe that practicing a lifestyle of homosexuality is okay. It's a sin. They don't recognize marriage between same-sex couples, which who cares if they recognize it or not? It really doesn't matter. But here's the problem: is they go on to keep saying, quite quickly when he asked his parents if he believed they're homophobic. Of course, we're not homophobic. These are just our eternal principles, right? So yeah, this kid decides.
Wait, what do they think homophobic? How could somebody be homophobic if what? Just because your homophobia is religious, that doesn't make you not homophobic. But what do they like? If that's not homophobic, then what is homophobic? I don't understand.
That's a very good question. If we believe that gay people don't have the right to be married, and we believe that if we believe that being gay is a choice that people choose just to sin against God, then what is homophobia? Because that to me sounds.
But I always say this, and I always have to say this. I don't think that it's not a choice argument is a good argument against homophobia, because even I understand that being gay is not a choice, but even if it was a choice, it will still be okay. And the reason why I'm very sensitive about people saying, "Oh, it's okay because it's not a choice," is because they're missing the point of what is moral and what's not moral. I think the best way of defining morality is finding the harm, right? Even if people could choose to be gay, even if that was the case, because it's not harming anybody, it's okay. And people are like, well, what's the difference? Why is that such a sensitive thing? As long as we're making the point that it's okay and it's whatever argument you make is valid. The reason is because if we don't make the norm for us to define morality based on anything that doesn't everything is okay as long as it doesn't cause harm. I mean, the name of the game, I always say, the name of the game is find the harm. No harm means it's okay. If we don't do that, then our moral standards is going to be based on a definition that is not going to avoid harm. The more our moral standards is based on avoiding harm, the more we will avoid harm, right? And that is why I'm very sensitive about this. I want to keep on emphasizing this. Any other moral standard other than no harm, then it's okay, will encourage more harm and avoid less harm. And that's why I'm always trying to find taboos that doesn't, all the stuff in Twitter that got me in a lot of trouble, the things that I say, that I look at taboos in society and why is this wrong? Why is that wrong? And I can't find anything wrong with it. And people are like, wow, Armin is saying this is okay or that is okay, is because I'm trying to promote the idea of no harm means it's okay. Because if people understand that is the standard, then that is going to result in less harm. So what do you guys think? I really don't like it when people say, "Oh, being gay is okay because it's not a choice." It doesn't matter if it's a choice. I don't
think that's the argument that they're trying to make. I think that where this argument comes from, and this is just my opinion, okay, is especially teenagers trying to explain this to their parents, right? When they come out saying they're gay, a lot of religious parents will be upset and say, "Well, then don't be," right? And so they have to come back, well, it's not a choice. And somehow that has stemmed into, well, if it's not a choice, then it's okay. But that's not what I think the original argument ever even came from. Does that make sense?
Right, but people do say that. Yeah, okay. So I agree with that. People should point out that it's not a choice when they say like, "Oh, switch to being straight." Then that's the point where it's fair to say, "Well, it's not a choice." But if I don't like the second line of reasoning when people say it's not a choice, so therefore it's okay. No, it would still be okay even if it's not a choice. I think people should make that point for the sake of higher standards of morality. What do you think, Chopin?
Yeah, I agree with Armin actually, because I get like pissed off at this, like, oh, it's not a choice, it's not their fault and everything. Like, I'm like, okay, if they want to do it, if even if it's a choice, then even then it's no problem. And I think we need to change people's mentality from, okay, it's not a choice because so it's fine, to it does no harm, so it's fine. We don't have to care if it's a choice or not.
Yeah,
I think we
actually,
need to change people's mentality.
right.
Okay, can I just hop
Yeah.
in here and say something really
Yeah.
quick? We hear a lot of people saying that we need to change our mentality, but when we're talking about allies, even if they're being ignorant and they don't realize it, if somebody is defending us, I don't think that we need to really be attacking them and say, "Hey, your argument for defending me is ignorant." I think that if somebody wants to step up and say, "Hey, don't blame her. It's not her fault that she's gay," they're not somebody I'm going to choose to
But we're
argue
not
it.
attacking.
Okay, I'm
No,
I'm not
no,
saying
no.
that we need to
Yeah,
attack them. I'm saying like
yeah.
we can just have friendly debates. Okay, like, okay, here's the thing about you said. I think this is what I think, and
Right,
that
right.
is, I think we can have friendly
We're not
debates. I don't think
attacking
that's
them.
anything wrong.
Yeah, we're not
Yeah.
attacking
I mean,
them.
I wasn't responding to you. I was
Yeah.
responding to Subham
Yeah.
when he said, when somebody says this, we
Ah.
need to make them think differently. No, I mean, no, I don't think now's the time. And that's just, I don't think now's the time to
I th-
battle that battle. I
Wait,
think
so
No,
the-
by the way, I
it's-
wasn't like talking about like every individual. I'm like changing the society through education and stuff, so that gradually the society will start to think like, okay,
Yeah.
even if it's a choice, it's still not a problem.
Right. I mean, if
I
somebody,
was
if
meaning.
some,
we see so many people in the LGBTQ community who get outrageously upset when allies say things that are ignorant. And I just think that we need to quit being upset over
right. Okay, don't
Yeah.
get outraged, but I don't think it's. Yeah, you're right. Okay, don't get outraged if somebody said like, "Oh, it's okay because it's not a choice." Don't get outraged over it, but I think it's okay to just tell them like why you don't think that's a good argument, why you think this is a better argument, even though
Yeah,
they're right. Yeah.
fine.
I mean, I don't think an ally is going to quit being an ally because of if somebody like, oh, I support gay people because I don't think it's a choice. If I tell them, well, it will still be okay even if it's not a choice. I don't think the reaction is going to be, okay, I'm going to stop being an ally. But I think Ali, you're right. If I say like, how dare you? If outrage is a response, then yes, then you're alienating allies. You're right, Ali, in that position. But one thing that also pisses me off, but I'm not going to get show outrage over it, is when people say it's not their fault. That seems like being gay is like a curse or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but this is especially, in the Deep South, that's what you hear a lot.
Right. It's not their
And
fault. Like, well,
you know what? You pick your battles
Yeah,
with
okay.
it, is the way I say. So
Yeah, that's the thing here as well. Like, if someone's gay, like, people will be like, oh, that's a disease. It's not his fault, but it's a disease. We should not blame them, but it's still not
Yeah.
really normal and stuff. That's the thing here as well.
Yeah.
So,
I'm going to tell them, like, yeah, it's not your fault to be straight either. Anyways, let's go to the next news.
next news, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite people out of the USA, televangelist Jim Bakker. Jesus will return within the next 10 years. So I think I did bring this up every time we talk about Jim Bakker, and you'll know why he's one of my favorite people. Jim was actually put in prison for fraud and debasement of his own company, and he spent a lot of time in prison where his wife left him for his business partner. And now Jim's back in full force, and he peddles a whole bunch of buckets for the end of the world filled with food that'll last 4 people a day or something. I don't know. So you have to buy a lot of his buckets. Jim is a con man. He's a known con man. He's been put to jail for being a con man. And he is now predicting that Jesus Christ is coming to visit us within the decade. And he said this when Jonathan Cahn whose book he was promoting, was on his show talking about the end of the world. And he says, the reason I don't put it on the air is the last chapter of this video is because I would be drilled out of Christianity by a lot of people, because he literally says the coming of the Lord could be at this time. And it's because he said this, if he's coming back, and the timing, he said that there is right here, sorry, this is a terrible quote, and if he's right, we don't have more than a decade left. So he fully believes that Jesus is coming back within a decade. But what I don't understand is, in the Bible it says Jesus is going to return like a thief in the night. Nobody will know when he's coming. No one will know when he's going. So why Christians keep predicting when Jesus is coming is just beyond me.
Yeah, but this is easily fixed if when 10 years come back, people are like, oh, this guy's going to be embarrassed. 10 years come back and comes by and Jesus is not back and he's going to be embarrassed. No, they could
Jim's so old now, he might not even be alive in 10 years.
Yeah, but even if he's alive, I mean, when you have magic on your side, you could just make stuff up. It's so easy. Like, you could come up with an excuse like, this is why God decided, you're like, oh, Jesus was supposed to come back, and now all of a sudden this happened, and this is why he's not coming back. You just come up like, oh, people are sinning so much, or I don't know, something. People think, if you think that they're going to be embarrassed because Jesus didn't come back in 10 years, you have no idea how flexible these people's theology is and their reasoning is. They could just come up with anything. And these people are like, oh, how stupid. This is not stupid, guys. This is sales. This is exactly what sells books and content and gets you
and
viewers.
Buckets full of food for the end of the world.
What?
And buckets full of food for the end of the world.
Yeah, this is great marketing for them. You shouldn't underestimate how the strategy behind these methods. It works. But why does he think that Christians are going to attack him?
Probably because he's saying that the Lord's going to be coming in the next 10 years. And I think that it's exactly because of the argument that I gave.
Yeah.
We're not really supposed to be telling people when the Lord's going to be coming.
Yeah, does it say in the Bible somewhere that nobody knows, right?
Right. He'll come like a thief in the night.
Yeah, so how do they defend that position when other Christians tell these Christians like, hey, nobody knows but God? What would the Christians that keep on coming up with times and when Jesus is coming back, how do they respond? Do you know?
No idea.
No idea. But I mean, the Bible said that Jesus is going to come back when a lot of his apostles were still around. So he missed that by a couple of thousand years. I mean, if you read the Bible, I mean, the most literal reading of it will give you the understanding that Jesus was supposed to come back a long, long time ago, and he missed that deadline, right? So, it doesn't say that in the Bible clearly that he's going to come back when the apostles are still around?
I don't know about that, but there were a lot of signs that they were supposed to.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's go. Shobham, do you want to add anything?
Well, on the bright side, we finally have a date before which we are going to hell to rock with Satan.
Yeah. Well, we had many of those days.
Once again.
Yeah,
once again.
Yeah, this is not funny anymore. Like, it used to be so funny, and now it's just happening so often that the joke has lost its humor. All right, next news.
Okay, next news. Out of the USA, pastor says nothing angers Christians more than an impeachment inquiry into Trump. A right-wing pastor, Robert Jeffress, told Fox News' Lou Dobbs that everything climate change, this is the guy who believes that climate change is a hoax, that there should be no separation of church and state in the Constitution, that there is no separation of church and state in the Constitution. The Bible is banned in public schools. These are all the things this guy believes. Well, he goes on to the Fox News in an angry, furious rant telling everybody that all Christians need to be angry. All Christians are angry, and all Christians need to be outraged over the...
Oh, Ali, you got muted. Oh, you
Weird.
Okay.
Was I muted during that whole thing?
No, you just for
No.
2 seconds. Go on.
Okay. So what I don't understand is why we're turning this impeachment into, well, I do understand, but I think that it's crazy that we're using Christianity to argue against the impeachment of the president.
What does this got to do with Christianity? I don't get it. I mean, I do
Well,
get it.
okay, besides the fact that Trump's camp is completely, made up of evangelicals,
Not completely, but a lot of it, yeah.
and the majority of
Yeah.
America are Christians,
Mhm.
right? So,
I mean, Christians want everything to be about them and everything to be an attack on them, right? So I think the attack on Trump has nothing. I mean, I think it's fine to attack Christianity, and it's more than fine. It's amazing. It's a great thing to attack Christianity, but attacking Trump, when it comes to impeachment, has nothing to do with Christianity. But I think Christians. I think he's not. I don't think this pastor. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, he's right. It does anger Christians, and that's why we should do it. That's great. Thank you for giving us a reason for impeaching Trump. I don't think that's the. I don't think that's accurate. I think Christians want things to be an attack on Christianity because they need to be victims, right? So even if it's not an attack on Christianity, they're like, oh, we are going to get angry because this is an attack on Christianity. And I think they might even want to encourage you to be like, oh, we're going to get angry if you attack us, so that you attack them, because they want you to attack them. Because
right.
they want to be relevant. They want to be victims. Oh, look at us, poor us. People are so mean to us. People are so anti-Christian, right? So even if it's not about them, they have to somehow make it about them somehow.
Right.
So don't fall for this. It's like if people are like, oh, boo hoo hoo, Christians are angry. Fine, get angry. No, they want you to go after them, to be angry. Like these people like this, they want more reasons. And this is something, by the way, atheist activists should be careful, right? About like, when it comes to activism and nonprofits and all of that, you have to be careful not to wishing more hate and more discrimination, because that's what makes you relevant, right? So, for example, a lot of organizations in the United States, right, a lot of anti-hate groups are now making Nazism and white supremacy more relevant because that's where their bread and butter is. Oh, did we lose Ali? Okay, we lost Ali, but I'm going to make this point. But as atheist activists, we should want to become irrelevant, right? Because our activism revolves around making atheism normal and making discrimination against atheists less and less. So Atheist Republic wants to make Atheist Republic irrelevant one day, make it atheist activism unnecessary one day, right? That's what our goal should be. If we keep growing and at some point we're required to be relevant because of atheist activism, but because of atheist discrimination against atheists, and if that's going away, then we might be biased to try to find discrimination where none exists. We should be careful not to do that. Should we wait for Ali or go to... let me actually read the top comments. Kevin is saying, in that case, he should definitely be... See, Kevin is falling for it. Kevin is saying... Oh. Okay, Ali is saying should we be right back. Kevin is saying, in that case, he should definitely be impeached, mainly because he broke the law, but this is just icing on the cake. I think you're falling for the trap, Kevin. I think this is meant to encourage you to be more anti-Christian, because that's what they need. Janine is saying, just another great reason for impeachment. Again, Janine, you're falling for it as well. People, you shouldn't underestimate your enemy. I think this is what's happening, right? I think a lot of people look at the stupid things that Christians and Muslims and Hindus say, and they see it's how ridiculous, and they don't see that there's a strategy behind all this ridiculousness. The reason why these ideologies are growing, the reason why these memes are powerful, is because what they're saying is factually incorrect, but there's usually a strategy, and there's a there's a smart and genius, sometimes genius purpose behind spreading these things. Ron is saying, so Starbucks holiday cups are safe this year. Okay, well, all right, Shippo, do you agree with what I'm saying? Do you have any?
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, if they were like totally really ridiculous and no sense, then there's no way they would get so many people to follow them and even go to positions like leaders of countries and everything.
Yeah. So yeah,
There's
basically,
always some strategy behind it.
yeah. So as a leader, as a Christian leader, all you have to make clear is that you're under attack. So it's not that complicated, right? So this person has to like impeachment. This is what crosses their mind. This is how it works, right? Right now, most of content producers and most news are talking about impeachment, right? And as a Christian leader, as somebody that wants to get Christians mobilizing and backing you and paying attention to you, you have to, you say like, oh, this is trending right now. How could we make this about Christianity? And how could I say something that get Christians to pay attention to me or rally up behind me? So you make this like, oh, Christians will be so angry. I mean, he might even write among many Christians, but not all of them. But this is the thing that goes in the, I don't know, in the subconscious or the conscious minds, and that's what makes them say it. And it works. So no matter how stupid you think it is, it works. And if you think like, oh, this is a good reason to, I mean, there are better reasons to impeach Trump. Like, it has nothing to do with Christianity. Anyways, we talked about this for too long. Let's go to the last news.
Last news is out of Paris, France. A Muslim convert murders 4 in police headquarters. So this is a really tragic story. Michael Harpun was a Muslim convert. He had been Muslim for 2 years. He worked in the police headquarters. He stabbed 3 fellow officers and a civilian colleague to death before he was shot dead as he tried to flee.
Okay, and they said they don't know. At first they don't know if this was terrorism or not, right? So this is again, as we're anti-Islamic atheist activists, right? We are all of that, all 3 of us here, right? But be careful, don't be biased. Just because he's a Muslim convert doesn't mean that this was a terrorist attack. Wait for the evidence. Wait for the evidence, right? So I think the police also said that they weren't labeling this as terrorism yet. They were, and people are like, well, if it's a Muslim convert that murders police in Paris, obviously that's terrorism because it's religiously motivated. So remember, definition of terrorism, okay, it's not based on how big the crime was. It's not based on how many people that died. It's based on the motivation. If it's religious or political, it's labeled terrorism. And I think this, people think like terrorism means that it's a bigger deal. People know. Motives matter, and if you don't know the motives might be Islamic, but you don't know until there's evidence. We don't have any. He didn't shout Allahu Akbar or anything like that before doing this, right? There's no. I mean, we don't know. Maybe by the time that we're reporting this, now we know, right? But when it happened, the police was not labeling it as terrorism, right? And so and be careful, don't do that until you know that the motives were religious, right? It's very likely that it was, but we don't know. Another point I want to make is that look at the police here. At first they said that they weren't labeling it as terrorism. If this was a white supremacist right now, a white guy that shot 4 police people, and the police came out and said, we're not labeling it as terrorism yet, people would be coming out and like, oh, look at the racism of the police. If it was a brown guy or if it was a Muslim, they would definitely call it terrorism. But they don't point at no, they're consistent. If they don't know the motives, they're not going to call it terrorism. They're consistent. Remember was it the Vegas shootings, right? There was this white guy that shot a whole bunch of people and they didn't know the motives. How many people died? There was a lot of people that died. And they weren't calling... A lot of people died. And they weren't calling it terrorism. And people were like, wow, I bet you would call it terrorism if he was brown or Muslim or whatever. No, the number of people doesn't matter. They weren't calling it terrorism because they didn't know the motives. And they're consistent. This guy is a Muslim and they weren't calling it terrorism either because they weren't sure about the motives. As soon as they know the motives, they're going to call it terrorism. All right? The number of dead people is not the reason, doesn't impact the labeling of it. Even if nobody dies, if the motives were religious or political, it would be terrorism. But again, our side, be careful, don't give in to temptation. Not everything is religious, not everything is terrorism. Even if somebody is a Muslim, it might not be terrorism. Wait for you don't lose anything from waiting, okay? Don't be like one of these people, like as soon as you see an attack, you're like, oh, it must be an Islamic terrorist attack. No, just wait. Wait for the information. And even if the information comes out, always clarify. Say, based on what's being reported, this is my opinion. So if the reporting changes, people are like, like you jumped on the bandwagon, I believe this because it gave in to your biases against religion. You're like, no, this is what I'm saying based on what is being reported. If the reporting is inaccurate, then what I'm saying doesn't stand. By the way, that applies to all Atheist Republic news. We're going based on what's being reported, and there's always a chance that what's being reported is not accurate, and if it's not accurate, then our comments do not apply. Do you guys have anything to say?
No, that was good.
About the terrorism stuff, I want to say this. I don't know if I'll get hate for this or not, but there was this book I read and I really loved this line that death is just a byproduct of terrorism. It's not the motive. So we really need to wait for the evidence if it's terrorism or not. Like you said, even if there are no deaths, it could be terrorism. Even if there are several deaths, it would not be terrorism.
All right, let me address the two top comments. Frederick is saying, quoting the article, saying investigators are trying to establish his motives. And then Frederick is saying, why not just read the Quran? That would save you a lot of time and investigation. So Frederick, are you suggesting that Muslims don't commit any crimes that is not Islamic? Because that's a very dumb thing to say. Because I would tell you this. Again, I say this as an anti-Islam activist. Here's how I make it. Islam is cancer. Islam needs to die. Okay? So that's what I believe in. I have been fighting Islam most of my life. But I will tell you this also. Most of the crimes that Muslims commit has nothing to do with Islam. Most of the crimes committed by Muslims or by anyone else has nothing to do with their religion. Okay? That's just fact. Okay, so yes, no, just because a guy was Muslim doesn't mean we shouldn't investigate to find the motives. Okay, the motives it's possible that the motives are not Islamic. So yeah, please investigate. I don't agree that's the top comment. So this is exactly the temptation that I said. Don't give in to that. Okay, this is not what Frederick is doing. Is exactly what you should avoid. Wait for the evidence. Second comment is by somebody that I can't pronounce the name. I think it's an Indian name, Abhijit
Kundu.
Abhijit, he's saying that diversity is the strength with a few laughing emojis, like he's making it. It's very interesting that. By the way, look, this is a non-white person making fun of the idea that diversity is the strength. So it's not just white people that are making fun of that. Okay, this Indian guy is saying that as well, which is I think he's an anti-Islamic Indian guy.
Indians make this say this a lot.
But let me just tell you something about diversity and strength. First of all, diversity is not a strength, but diversity is a sign of strength. Okay, diversity doesn't cause strength. A society that is strong will eventually become diverse, I think. And so that's what history has shown us, right? Like Roman Empire, Persian Empire, when a society becomes prosperous and has a lot of trade, has a lot of people coming in and starting businesses, will become diverse. So diversity itself, diversity of biological diversity is not a source of strength. Ideological diversity usually is a source of strength, because if you have the ideological diversity, usually the strongest ideologies survive and the weaker ones will die. Maybe, but it could be a sign of strength, not always. But biological diversity does come about if a society is prosperous and strong. So it does work the other way around. But it's weird that you're saying that to this news, when you say you're making fun of diversity as a strength when it comes in response to this news, given that this person was a Muslim convert, right? Convert. That means that the whole idea of being against diversity because terrorism and stuff, actually this news does not support that, because this shows that fighting ideas matter more than fighting people. If this is an Islamic terrorist attack, to me, this is one more example for why stopping people or being against people does not reduce risk. Because even if you're not even if you're not Arab or Middle Eastern or whatever, you could be a convert, and you could be a convert just by YouTube videos or Facebook posts or just reading articles or books, or you could become an extremist like that. So fight ideas instead of people. So if you're against diversity because of terrorist attacks, this guy is a convert. So your position against diversity, it does not hold here. Does that make sense what I'm saying, guys? Do you understand my point here? Okay, you both are nodding. For podcast listeners, they both are saying yes.
Yes.
All right. Do you guys have any other comments you want to add to this?
No.
No, Shapam?
Not really.
All right,
No.
that was our last news. Thank you everybody, and thank you, Ali, for making. I know it was difficult for you to show up today, and there's a lot happening. So thank you so much for making time. You guys have no. I'm gonna go into details because it's private and stuff. But you guys have no idea how much sacrifices Ali is making for the sake of Atheist Republic. We're all very grateful to you, Ali. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Armin.
Yeah. Anyways, thank you all. Thank you, Khalid. Thank you, people that I can't pronounce their names. Old Scratch, GV, Beach, as always, for moderating. Another person that I can't pronounce the name is saying shalom. Another godless atheist is saying thanks, Atheist Republic. Thank you, people in the Facebook live chat as well. Did I miss some of them? Yeah, I lost the live chat. But thank you to you as well. And sorry for being all over the place. I know we're supposed to do this on Saturday, but things happen, and I'm also traveling a lot. But we'll find. We're always trying to find squeezes in, anyways, even if we're not always on time. We're gonna try to come up with a better time Saturdays, and we'll let you guys know. But we're not always gonna be on time. But we are trying our best. Okay, we're trying. Beach saying special thanks to Ali. Yes, very special thanks.
Thank you, Beach.
Jack is saying I was very late. It seems I'll catch up later. Hi, Jack. All right. Okay, guys. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.